New World's devs just released a massive amount of information, so I want to discuss a few of them. Some gear is going to be getting nerfed, some weapons are going to be getting nerfed, and the bug fixes are going to be getting fixed across the board. First, let's start off with my Crescent Wave. Man, do I love this weapon, but sadly, once again, they're nerfing it by a total of 10%, meaning it's going to be a bit weaker. I still think it's going to be viable as a mage killer or a ranged weapon for the greatsword, as it simply does so much damage, and I will never give up on my baby, the Crescent Wave, no matter what. They also fixed many other issues, one of the bigger ones being killing Bones and Catacombs would not open gates where you did not kill them. So if you were doing Catacombs and you stumbled across a big guy with a bomba on his backpack and you failed to kill him in time, the gate would never open. I think one of the biggest things that they've done is they have reduced the Umbrals that you get from losing in PvP. So right now there's been a hard meta where when you PvP, you join up and capture the flag and outpost rush and you like the WQ warrior. What some people have figured out, if I just AFK in the back of the map, well, I still get basically the same amount of Umbrals as the people who are winning. And because of this, there is no real incentive to win the game. Now they're changing this so you have to actually play and look to win in order to get those very sought after Umbrals if you're looking for an Umbral farm. Something else I found to be quite interesting is the world boss Blasphemous here. He was spawning multiple times in the same location, so you could be fighting up to a few bosses at once. Now, I'm not much of a masochist, but that does not sound like a fun time. So they ended up fixing this issue, allowing it to spawn properly where it's one location. So if you're having trouble killing the world boss yesterday, this issue should be fully resolved. Now, the most important part of this whole update or patch is what exactly the devs have said about gear farming and current old perk system. This is very important, so listen up. First, I want to adjust the lesser important things, and then I'm going to move into the extremely important stuff. Starting off with the spider cave. So the spider cave had a considerable volume of players inside of it, making the game lag relatively hard, and due to this reason, it means they wanted to nerf the spider cave. They actually said they were fine with it because it just gave beginner gear loot and nothing related to endgame. And because of this reason, they didn't have a problem leaving it up, but sadly there was just too much lag as the entire server was gathering around in one area. There's a new spot in Sun Tower. I'll show the location here. It's just left to the outpost here. It spawns 2 bosses and they drop 2 legendaries across the board. You can generally kill them every 15 to 20 seconds. It's not nearly as good as the spider cave, but it's the best option we have left. Also, they fixed an issue. Also, there's an issue where if you upgrade your final perk on your artifact, it will revert you all the way back down to 700 and you'll waste all the Umbral shards. They're trying to fix this. So before you upgrade any piece of gear, make sure you have fully unlocked all the perks before upgrading with Umbrals, or you'll be wasting those. They'll be left down the sewers. Now, let's get into the most important thing, the meta stuff, how perks are going to work. So right now, there's a bug in the system where you can stack old perks with new perks. So for anyone who's newer to the game, let me break this down. Enchanted Ward is the most overpowered perk in New World Aeternum history, and even today it's still considered probably the best perk overall, as this reduces light and heavy attacks on you by 4%. Well, why is this so overpowered, you may be asking? Well, because in PvP and PvE, the vast majority of damage is considered light and heavy attacks. Basically, think of this as a free damage debuff to all incoming damage, giving you massive survivability. And people have been abusing this very hard right now by stacking old perks with new perks. Translation, they've been stacking Enchanted Ward with new Enchanted Ward for a total of 6% mitigation, allowing you to become insanely tanky for both dungeons, raids, and PvP. They said they are going to be fixing this as this is not an intended system. And it's very obvious that this wasn't supposed to be intended, because this is just the meta across the board, as there's a lot of other broken interaction you can do by allowing double stacking of perks. For example, you can double stack Enfeebling Skewer, giving you up to like 80 to 90% weaken to a certain enemy. This is how some people are able to beat maybe the raid right now. We're not sure, but we do know that stacking these double perks is extremely broken and will be getting looked at. Another fantastic example of this is stacking Rends for like a hammer, so you can have so much Rends that the boss has literally 0 armor. And due to all these problems, the New World devs are seeing that the min-maxers have already been doing, it's creating a massive issue in terms of endgame content, meaning they can completely skip farming for decent gear right now, leveling it up to 800, or farming even other set bonuses to make the PvE content more easy, just due to the fact that you can stack old gear so efficiently and so well that it's completely and utterly broken. Something else that they wanted to mention is that there is now duplicate charms in the game. So what do I mean by this? So if you have a piece of random legendary gear that drops, it can drop 2 offensive slots. That's completely normal. But what is not normal is if it drops 2 leeching charms on the same piece. This is not intended, and if you do have 2 pieces of gear that has leeching on it, you might think you're lucky, but the devs have confirmed that one of those is not going to be working. But what I would say is arguably the biggest piece of news is they want to reduce the stacking of perks for the new perk system. What exactly does this mean? So for example, I have a lot of Frost Attunement, Abyssal Attunement on the same piece of weapon. So if I have 3 attunements on weapons, that's relatively very broken for a vast majority of builds in New World Aeternum. And they said they want to have diminishing returns for these stacking perks. Now they didn't say exactly how much they want to reduce the values by, we can only speculate, but I would imagine it would be anywhere between 5 to 25%, depending on how aggressive the devs want to nerf stuff this season. So if you got Biss and you're like, I got 3 attunement pieces on my musket or fire staff, and this is pretty much best in slot, I'm going to upgrade it all the way to 800, well, maybe come next Tuesday, that will no longer be the case. So just be careful with your Umbrals. You can choose to gamble or not. But the devs have said with 100% certainty that this will be getting changed, and that type of perk stacking will be getting nerfed. So upgrade these pieces of gear with your own discretion, as I don't want to see you wasting all your Umbrals money, as this is quite a big gold sink right now, especially when you have no extra Umbrals to share. And there is a weekly cap of 4,000. It's very rough to be wasting about 500 of those on a piece of gear that's going to be completely irrelevant come next Tuesday. And that's going to be pretty much all the stuff I want to cover in this video. If you guys did find this helpful, it means a lot to me if you like that and subscribe. And with that, hope you guys all have a fantastic day.